The interview had been live for exactly 90 seconds, and the air in the studio had already curdled into something unbreathable. There was no gentle let-in, no warming of the engines. The disconnect was immediate, visceral, and horrifyingly high definition. Jason Momoa sat on the far end of the famous beige sofa, a sprawling monument of leather and indifference. He did not sit so much as occupy the space. His massive frame angled away from the hosts, one heavy boot resting on the edge of the coffee table in a gesture that wasn't quite aggressive, but was undeniably territorial. He wore a distressed leather jacket over a charcoal t-shirt that had seen better days, and his signature rings clacked against the ceramic mug he was turning in his hands, over and over, like a boredom counter. Opposite him, Alison Hammond maintained a smile that was currently doing the structural work of a suspension bridge. It was a fixed, professional brightness, straining against the weight of the silence radiating from her guest. Beside her, Dermot O'Leary was leaning forward, his posture open and eager, the classic stance of a broadcaster trying to physically will a conversation into existence. "It's a passion project, then," Dermot said, his voice pitched slightly higher than usual, filling the dead air. "This documentary, it's clearly something that's been on your mind for a long time. The connection to the land, the history." Jason didn't look at Dermot. He looked at the monitor displaying his own face, then down at his rings. "It's not a passion project," he said. His voice was a low rumble, devoid of the charismatic growl audiences usually paid to hear. It was flat, monotone. "It's necessary work. Passion implies it's a hobby. This isn't a hobby." Dermot blinked, his head tilting in a micro-adjustment of confusion. "Right, of course. I just meant—" "I know what you meant," Jason interrupted. He finally turned his head, his eyes behind tinted glasses locking onto Dermot with a look of profound disinterest. "You meant it's something I do when I'm not playing dress-up in front of a green screen. That's the narrative, isn't it?" The silence that followed was thick enough to choke on. This was this morning. The show of spinning prize wheels, cooking segments, and uncontrollable laughter. It was the softest landing spot in British television. But Jason Momoa wasn't landing. He was crashing. Alison jumped in, her instincts flaring. She shifted her weight, turning her whole body toward him, offering the full warmth of her personality. "I think what Dermot means, babes, is that we can feel the heart in it. We watch the clips. It's beautiful. You're showing a side of Hawaii people don't usually see. That must feel vulnerable, putting that out there." It was a perfect daytime TV question. Empathetic, soft, inviting an emotional pivot. Jason stared at her. He didn't blink. He didn't smile. He just stared until Alison's smile faltered at the corners. "Vulnerable, Jason repeated, tasting the word like it was spoiled milk. "No, vulnerable is what happens to the land when developers pour concrete over sacred soil. Me making a film about it isn't vulnerable. It's the least I can do." He leaned back, crossing his massive arms. "But I don't expect you to understand the distinction." The insult was subtle, wrapped in social justice rhetoric, but it landed like a slap. Alison kept her composure, but her eyes tightened. The playful sparkle that usually defined her screen presence was being replaced by a watchful, guarded intelligence. She glanced at Dermot. Dermot glanced at the floor manager. The floor manager looked terrified. "Well," Dermot said, forcing a chuckle that sounded like dry leaves crunching, "we certainly want to understand. That's why you're here, to educate us, to tell the story." "I'm here because I have a contract," Jason said. He looked around the studio, his gaze lingering on the pastel scatter cushions and the fake window overlooking the Thames. "And because my publicist seems to think this," he gestured vaguely at the hosts, at the set, at the entire concept of the show, "is the best way to sell a message about corporate greed. The irony isn't lost on me." The atmosphere in the studio shifted from awkward to dangerous. This wasn't just a grumpy celebrity. This was a man who viewed the entire premise of the interview as beneath him. "We love a bit of irony," Alison said, her voice dropping an octave, becoming less bubbly and more grounded. "But we also love a bit of chat. And people at home, Jason, they love you. They've been excited all week. They don't see a contract. They see someone they admire." Jason let out a short, sharp breath through his nose. A laugh without humor. They admire a character. They admire a suit. They don't know me. Then help them know you, Alison pressed, her tone sharpening. That's the job, isn't it? You're the storyteller. Jason turned his body fully toward her now. The movement was slow, deliberate, like a predator shifting its weight. Is that the job? I thought the job was to sit here, answer 3 questions about my workout routine, pretend to laugh at a joke I've heard 10 times, and then sell a movie ticket. Isn't that the transaction? Dermot cleared his throat, sensing the slide toward total hostility. We try to go a bit deeper than that, Jason. We've got time. We can talk about whatever you want. I want to talk about the water crisis, Jason said instantly. I want to talk about indigenous sovereignty. But every time I bring it up, I see your producers panic in the wings. He pointed a heavy finger toward the darkness behind the cameras. Look at them. They're terrified I'm going to say something that upsets your advertisers. The camera cut to a wide shot. The crew was indeed frozen. The tension was palpable, a physical weight pressing down on the bright, airy studio. Nobody is panicking, Dermot lied smoothly, though his grip on his cue cards was white-knuckled. We are live, Jason. You have the floor. Say what you need to say. Jason looked at Dermot with a mixture of pity and disdain. I've been saying it. You're just not listening because you're waiting for the segment where we cook a frittata or whatever comes next. Actually, Alison said, her voice crisp, next is a segment on foster care. Something else that matters. So let's not pretend we're just fluff, yeah? It was the first pushback. A boundary drawn into the sand. Jason's eyebrows twitched upward behind his glasses. He looked at Alison with a reassessing gaze, not of respect, but of calculation. Foster care, Jason said, nodding slowly. Sure, sandwich the tragedy between the celebrity gossip and the fashion show. Makes it easier to swallow, right? It makes it accessible, Alison countered, holding his gaze. It gets the conversation into living rooms. Same as you making a movie, you wrap the message in entertainment. Don't compare my work to this, Jason said softly. The volume didn't rise, but the temperature dropped 10 degrees. My work takes years. It takes blood. This, he tapped the cable table with a single finger. This is filler. This is background noise for people who are too afraid to look at the real world. Dermot sat up straighter. I think that's a bit harsh on our viewers, Jason. They're smart people. They care. Do they? Jason challenged, turning back to the cameraman. This is why I'm breaking the fourth wall with unsettling intensity. Or do they just want to be comforted? They want the nice man on the sofa to smile and say everything is okay. Well, everything isn't okay. And nobody said it was, Dermot replied, his professional veneer starting to crack, revealing a flash of genuine annoyance. But coming into someone's house, because that's what this show is, we are in people's houses, and insulting them isn't the way to change minds, is it? Jason smirked. It was a cold, arrogant expression that transformed his rugged features into something mocking. I'm not in their house, mate. I'm on a screen. And if they don't like it, they can turn it off. I suggest they do. Okay, Alison said, clapping her hands together once, a sharp sound that echoed in the quiet studio. Let's take a breath. We're here to have a conversation, not a debate about the medium of television. You have this documentary, it's out on Friday. What is the one specific thing you want people to take away from it? Jason looked at her, bored. He picked up his mug again, looked inside it, saw it was empty, and set it down with a clatter. I want them to wake up, he said, but looking around this room, I'm not optimistic. Dermot checked the clock. They were 6 minutes in. It felt like 6 hours. The producer was screaming in his earpiece to go to break, but they couldn't. The segment was timed for 12 minutes. They were trapped in the cage with the lion, and the lion was bored. Let's talk about the physical aspect, Dermot tried, pivoting to safe ground despite Jason's earlier warning, because the physicality of your roles is undeniable. Even in this documentary, you're climbing, you're swimming in rough waters. How do you prepare for that at this stage in your life? Does it get harder? Jason closed his eyes. He actually closed his eyes and let his head drop back, exhaling a long, loud sigh of exasperation. When he opened them, the look of contempt was absolute. I told you, Jason said slowly, I don't want to talk about my body. I am not a piece of meat for you to dissect. He's asking about your fitness, Jason, Alison said, her voice tight. It's a compliment. It's reductionist, Jason snapped. I spent 3 years researching water rights, and you want to know how many sit-ups I do. It's pathetic. It's exactly why journalism is dying. We are not journalists, Dermot said, his voice hardening. We are presenters, and we are trying to find a way to engage with you that doesn't involve being lectured. Then ask better questions, Jason shot back. Stop reading from the cards your interns wrote and actually engage your brain. The insult hung in the air. Dermot's jaw clenched. Alison straightened her jacket, a gesture of armoring herself. Our team works very hard, Jason, Alison said, her voice dangerously low. And those questions are designed to help you tell your story. If you don't like them, you can pivot. You don't have to be rude. I'm not being rude, Jason said, leaning forward, invading their personal space. I'm being real. You're just not used to it. You're used to people coming in here desperate to be liked. I don't need to be liked. I don't need you. I don't need this show. Then why are you here? Alison asked. The question wasn't on the cards. It wasn't in the script. It was a direct challenge. Jason looked at her, surprised by the directness. I told you, contractual obligation. So you're just ticking a box, Alison pressed. You're wasting our time and the viewer's time because you signed a piece of paper? I'm fulfilling an obligation, Jason said, his voice icy. I'm doing my job. Try doing yours. Dermot interjected, sensing the cliff edge approaching. Right, okay, let's leave the industry talk aside. You mentioned your family earlier in the pre-interview. You said they were a big motivation for this work. How do you balance the travel, the fighting for these causes, with being a dad? It was the dad card, the ultimate softener. No celebrity, no matter how prickly, could resist the dad card. Jason stared at Dermot. Don't bring my kids into this. I'm just asking about the balance, Dermot said, retreating slightly. You're using my children to humanize a segment that you're losing control of, Jason said. His voice was quiet, terrifyingly calm. It's a cheap trick. I expected it, but it's still cheap. It's a conversation about life, Alison said, her patience fraying like an old rope. Most people struggle with work-life balance. They want to know how you manage it. Most people don't have cameras shoved in their faces when they take their kids to school, Jason said. Most people don't have vultures analyzing their parenting skills on morning television. We are not vultures, Dermot said, his voice rising for the first time. Aren't you? Jason smiled, and it was a cruel thing. You pick over the carcasses of privacy for ratings. You create drama where there is none because it sells ad space for, what is it, washing powder? We create a community, Alison corrected him, her voice trembling with suppressed anger. We keep people company. We cheer people up. Not everyone wants to be miserable and angry all the time, Jason. Ignorance is bliss, right? Jason retorted. Keep them smiling. Keep them distracted. God forbid they actually think about the world burning down around them. We talk about the world, Dermot said, fighting to keep the show on the rails. We cover news. We cover politics. You cover the pantomime, Jason dismissed him with a wave of his hand. You cover the distraction. You are part of the problem. You are the anesthetic. The producers were screaming in the earpieces now. Cut to break, cut to break. But Dermot couldn't find a natural out. The tension was a black hole, sucking everything in. Okay, Dermot said, forcing a smile that looked painful. We're going to take a very short break. When we come back, will it be better, Jason interrupted, or more of this? Dermot froze. We'll be back in 3 minutes. The music swelled, the camera lights died. The instant they were off air, the silence was deafening. Usually during a break, the host would lean in, apologize, reset the vibe. Sorry about that. Tough questions. You doing okay? Not today. Alison turned her chair physically away from Jason. She picked up her water glass and drank, her eyes fixed on the middle distance. Dermot stood up, adjusting his suit jacket, walking a tight circle behind the sofa to burn off the adrenaline. Jason didn't move. He stayed slumped in his spot, checking his phone, his thumb scrolling with lethargic arrogance. He didn't look at the crew. He didn't look at the hosts. He existed in a bubble of his own superiority. A producer, a young woman with a headset around her neck, tentatively approached the sofa. Jason, can we get you anything? Water? Coffee? Jason didn't look up from his phone. No. Okay, we have about 2 minutes. The next segment, we were hoping to do the true or false yes game. Just some light trivia about your career. Is that? Jason finally looked up. He lowered his sunglasses, revealing eyes that were exhausted and furious. Trivia? You want to play a game? It's just a bit of fun, the producer squeaked. Fans love it. I'm not a performing monkey, Jason said. I'm not doing a quiz. Cancel it. The producer paled. We have graphics prepared. It's in the script. Burn the script, Jason said. He went back to his phone. The producer looked at Dermot. Dermot shook his head, a silent signal. Drop it. Just survive the segment. Alison turned back around. She leaned in toward Jason, not with warmth this time, but with a steeliness that few people ever saw. Jason, she said. He didn't look up. Jason, look at me, she said, her voice commanding. He slowly raised his eyes. What? We have 6 minutes left, she said. We can do this 2 ways. We can sit here in silence, and you can look like a petulant child, or you can answer the questions with some grace, and we can all go home. It's your choice. Jason laughed. It was a genuine laugh this time, fueled by disbelief. Petulant child, watch your tone. Watch yours, Alison shot back. You're in my studio. You're on my sofa. Show some respect. Respect is earned, Jason repeated his mantra, and you haven't earned it. And you're losing it, Alison said. Fast. Back in 10, the floor manager shouted, cutting off the standoff. 9, 8. Dermot sat back down, smoothing his tie. He looked pale. Alison took a deep breath, composing her face into a mask of professional neutrality. Jason locked his phone and slid it into his pocket, crossing his legs, ready for round 2. The red light blinked on. Welcome back, Dermot said. His voice was steady, but the strain was visible around his eyes. We are still here with Jason Momoa. Still here, Jason muttered. The microphone picked it up clearly. We were talking about your new film, Dermot continued, ignoring the jab. But obviously you have a massive back catalog. Game of Thrones, Aquaman, Dune. When you look back at those roles, do you see a progression? Do you feel like you've evolved as an actor? It was a safe, academic question. A lifeline. Jason sighed. He picked at a loose thread on the sofa cushion. It's all just noise, isn't it? It's all just costumes and CGI. I stood in front of a green screen and pretended to talk to a dragon. It paid the bills. It bought the house. But let's not pretend it's art. A lot of people would call it art, Alison said. The special effects artists, the writers, the costume designers. They put their heart into that. They're technicians, Jason said dismissively. They're good at what they do. But the product? It's fast food. It's consumed and forgotten. This documentary, this is a meal. You seem to have a lot of contempt for the things that made you famous, Alison observed. Her tone was no longer trying to bridge the gap. She was now just narrating the crash. I have contempt for the machine, Jason corrected. I have contempt for the fact that I can't talk about indigenous rights without someone asking me about a superhero suit. It's infantilizing, it's insulting to me, and it should be insulting to you. We are capable of holding 2 thoughts at once, Jason, Dermot said, a flash of irritation breaking through. We can enjoy a superhero movie and care about the planet. It's not binary. It is binary, Jason insisted. You distract people with the circus so they don't notice the tent is on fire. And you two, he pointed a finger between them. You are the ringmasters. Okay, Alison said. She shifted her papers, a clear signal that she was done with the script. You keep attacking us. You keep attacking the show. You clearly hate being here. You clearly think you are above this. I am above this, Jason said. He didn't shout it. He stated it like a fact of gravity. I think we all know that. The studio went dead silent. The crew stopped breathing. This was the line. He had said the quiet part out loud. Alison looked at him. She didn't blink. She didn't smile. She looked at the man who had come into her home, her professional home, and wiped his feet on the furniture. You think you're above the people watching? Alison asked quietly. The nurse having a cup of tea before her shift? The mum feeding her baby? The pensioner who looks forward to this show every day? You think you're above them? Jason rolled his eyes. Don't give me the populist speech. I'm saying I'm above the format. I'm above the fake smiles and the insipid questions. I'm above the lie. The only lie here, Alison said, her voice rising with authority, is that you're a man of the people, because a man of the people doesn't sit there and sneer at them. Jason's jaw tightened. I'm not sneering at them. I'm sneering at you. And that, Dermot said, stepping in, is uncalled for. Is it? Jason leaned forward, his massive frame dominating the shot. Prove me wrong. Ask me a question that matters. Ask me something that isn't fluff. I dare you. I asked you about your family, Dermot said. You shut it down. Because it's gossip, Jason snapped. Ask me about policy. Ask me about legislation. This is not news night, Alison said calmly. This is this morning. You knew that when you signed the contract. You knew that when you got in the car. You came here looking for a fight, Jason. I came here looking for intelligent life, Jason sneered. I guess I came to the wrong place. The insult hung there, vibrating in the air. Alison stared at him. She saw the arrogance, the entitlement, the complete lack of grace. She thought about the producers running around backstage, the researchers who had prepped the packet he hadn't read, the viewers at home who had been excited to see him. She made a decision. She placed her hands on her knees and sat up very straight. The smile was gone. The warmth was gone. What remained was the absolute authority of a woman who had been on live television for 20 years. You know what, Jason, she said. Her voice was level, devoid of anger, which made it terrifying. I think you're right. Jason blinked, confused by the pivot. What? I think you are in the wrong place, Alison said. She turned to the camera. She didn't look at Dermot. She didn't look at the floor manager. She looked straight down the lens. I'm sorry to everyone watching, Alison said. We try to bring you joy. We try to bring you interesting people, but we also believe in manners, and we believe in respect. She turned back to Jason. He was staring at her, his mouth slightly open, the arrogance faltering for the first time. And since you can't seem to find any respect for us or for our viewers, Alison said, I don't see why we should give you any more airtime. Jason let out a scoff of disbelief. Are you serious? Deadly, Alison said. She gestured toward the edge of the set. You can go. Jason froze. You're kicking me off? I'm ending the interview, Alison said, because it's not an interview anymore. It's you being a bully, and I won't have it. Dermot sat motionless, stunned. The control room was likely melting down, but Alison held the floor. Jason stared at her. He looked for the crack in her armor, the hesitation. He found none. He looked at Dermot, waiting for the good cop to step in. Dermot simply looked down at his notes, silently backing his partner. Jason laughed again, but it was hollow, a defensive reflex. Wow, okay, this is rich. You can't handle the truth, so you silence it. We can handle the truth, babes, Alison said, her voice dropping to a final dismissive cadence. We just can't handle the rude. Off you pop. She pointed to the exit. It was a command. A mother sending a naughty child to the step. Jason Momoa, the warlord, the superhero, the king of the seas, stood up. His face was flushed, a mixture of rage and humiliation. He towered over them for a second, radiating menace. You're a joke, he spat. And you, Alison said coolly, are holding up the cooking segment. Goodbye. Jason grabbed his sunglasses from the table. He didn't look back. He stormed off the set, his heavy boots thudding against the studio floor. He brushed past a cameraman, knocking the lens slightly, and disappeared into the shadows of the wings. The camera stayed on the empty space where he had been sitting. The dent in the cushion was still visible. The empty mug sat on the table. The silence in the studio was absolute. It was the silence of a car crash immediately after the impact. Alison took a deep breath. She smoothed her skirt. She looked at Dermot. Dermot looked at her, his eyes wide, a mixture of shock and awe on his face. He let out a long, shaky exhale. Well, Dermot said, his voice cracked slightly. That happened. Allison turned back to the camera. Her face was serious, but her eyes were clear. She didn't apologize again. She didn't explain. She simply moved the show forward, because that is what professionals do. Coming up next, Allison said, her voice steady as a rock, Gino is in the kitchen with a pasta dish that promises to be significantly warmer than what we've just experienced. Join us after the break. She held the stare into the lens until the red light faded. The feed cut. The screen went black. But the image of the empty sofa and the echo of the door slamming lingered in millions of living rooms across the country.